Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Our Shane. I just want to take a moment to thank all of you for your comments that I received from our last video. This episode is building upon what we started within that video, but I want to take a moment to thank you all for the feedback that you gave us from the story and to the t-shirt design as well. I really want to kind of thank all of you for taking the time to email me, to write to me, to message me. It is absolutely greatly appreciated, and also for the many questions that you've sent over the coming weeks. My intention is, as we go forward, to answer as many of those as possible and to kind of run them into episodes and share them here on the channel and also on our Facebook page. As always, all the links will be within the video. So our last video that we shared, I want to thank you for the feedback, I say, and the feedback on the t-shirt. So last video was being cosmically dumped, spiritual gangsters, and just who are our spirit guides. We shared a story around our latest trip, also some of the ideas, some of the fun we've had with the t-shirt design. And importantly, started to kind of stir up some thought about just who are our spirit guides. So that come about from a question from one of our wonderful subscribers via our YouTube channel, and the lady Deborah Hurst. She said, "Hi Shane, how do you tell the difference between spirit guides and your higher self?" That question come in via a video, the 5 signs spirit want to talk to you. Let's have a look here. I think it's the 5 signs, yeah. 5 signs spirit are wanting to talk to you. And that is a very thought-provoking question. And I think that, you know, Deborah's right, okay? Deborah's onto something. I'm going to share with you some of the experiences I've had, some of the conversations I've had with wonderful friends, where we've kind of explored this together individually, and there's 2 or 3 people that will kind of shared this with. It's come up within some of our conversations, and in a way it's leading to an answer. But what I want you to do is just really think about some of the experiences you've had with your spirit guides and how that kind of sits with you. And I'm going to share with you some of the experiences I've had and where that possibly leads us, where that can possibly take us. Okay, so even today, whilst I was consulting, I had an experience that in a way reinforced some of what I'm going to share with you now. Okay, for me, the clues have completely been there, and I think there's many interesting layers to this. Okay, so one of the most profoundest experiences that I've ever had with a spirit guide that completely impacted me and stopped me in my tracks, caused me to almost stop and reevaluate so much. And yet it was really, really simple. There was a simplicity to it. Okay, and those encounters happened over a 2 to 3 year period. Okay, and it started off with a spirit guide portrait. Okay, so behind me you'll see on the back wall there next to the lamp, you'll begin to make out an image. Okay, I will find an image and pop it I'm tongue tied today, pop it into the video. Okay, so I will put an image into the video. so you're able to kind of connect with that. I'm going to put one at the start and I'm going to put one towards the end as well, so you'll be able to really kind of connect with that. But you see that image there. Okay, so that started, I think that was around about 2011, 2012. So I've had that portrait for many years now. And what's incredible about it was that before I had the portrait, I was aware of that energy beginning to show itself. I was aware of it beginning to kind of show itself around me. Whenever I kind of went quiet, when I started to kind of consult for the evening, when I started to prepare myself in the afternoon to work, when I would sit quietly, sometimes when I sat down and I sat down alone, I was aware it was emanating its presence from a doorway. We spoke about doorways. I could feel it kind of gently just kind of moving into my space. And I could sense this light around it. I could sense this kind of gentleness, this non-intrusive yet very, very firm, solid presence that felt as if it was Celtic in origin. It felt there was an absolute anchoring to the kind of old ways within these lands. There was this green robe, and I was aware of this Celtic knotwork, and I was aware of what seemed to be a brooch sitting on the cloak. Now, I had that for around about a year, and then I had the psychic portrait done. And that was an incredible experience, because when that portrait was completed, when I was shown the portrait, it was like a photograph had been taken of what I'd seen. It was incredible. It was tangible. It was very clear in detail. It captured the essence of the energy that I've been connecting with. But what was really interesting, what was mind-blowing and total validation, that was not needed, but it was there, was this brooch. Now, leading up over that year, I remember walking past a charity shop, and I remember kind of getting this impulsive feeling to go in. I walked in, and it was almost, and I'll talk about this a lot, this magnetic pull, this feeling that was drawing me over towards the counter. And as I look, there was this leaf brooch. I'd seen it in my mind, and as I kind of looked at it, the words that followed, "It's a gift for you." And I was just completely blown away. It was like validation, but it was identical to what I'd seen in the image, in the kind of inner space. It was there, and I could feel the presence outside of me. Now, what was interesting, when the portrait was done, this person knew none of it, knew none of what I'd experienced, and for me, that's really, really important. I talk about things once they're identified, once they're validated, once they're confirmed, not in the in-between time, because I want this to be a validated experience. I want it to be a real experience. I may be asking more questions. I don't want to kind of anything to kind of interfere with that process as it unravels and unfolds. Okay, so this person had no idea of my experiences, but there it was, tangible. Okay, and I was blown away. I come home, I framed it, and I gently placed it on the wall. Now, one of the other things that happened around that time was when that energy appeared, one of the things that I said was, okay, who are you and what are you about? The reply come back instant. The reply was, and I've shared this before, but the reply was, who are you and what are you about? Quite simply, but yet very, very powerfully, that question set me on a journey that I took a couple of years to absolutely begin to answer. You know, what they were saying to me, who are you and what are you about? And it was from that kind of time that I then started to kind of really look at the way that I was working. You know, mediumship to me was more than what I was seeing, more than what was going on, more than what I kind of experienced around me. For me, from what I felt from the innate, there was a holistic approach to this. And it was really, really important to understand that it's therapy orientated. It's about moving people forwards. It's about kind of leaving people in a better place than when you found them. They're words of a dear friend of mine. Yet that is exactly at the heart of this. It's kind of unraveling, identifying, helping people understand why they are where they are, how to kind of find a solution, and most importantly to empower them to kind of transform those areas of their lives that are holding them back, those areas that are a vulnerability, a fragility, to kind of, you know, embrace them but fortify them and empower them, you know. And to me, that kind of, that question of who are you and what are you about stirred all that up in me, you know, and it kind of brought about a conviction to move forward, you know. So I think that, you know, we can't ever underestimate those energies that move around us, those energies that guide us. But here's the thing, for me, the clues started to appear, you know. When you talk about as the lady says, let's find that question again. As Deborah, thank you. As Deborah says, you know, how do you tell the difference between your spirit guides and your higher self? Well, what if they're one and the same? What if our spirit guides are an aspect of our past memories, our past lives? You know, I have a kind of belief that you don't just kind of, you know, drop into working with the innate or becoming the most incredible musician, the most incredible pianist, the most incredible sculptor, the most incredible leader overnight. You don't just become that. I kind of believe that in a way this is depending on what your beliefs are, and as I always say, you know, this is not fixed. This is my experience, and my experience is talking. All I'm trying to do is stir up thought, okay? But my belief is you don't just become the most incredible pianist, the most incredible sculptor. You don't just find yourself working with the innate at the level that we are overnight. And maybe not just within this lifetime. Maybe it's about many lifetimes of those experiences being sharpened, shaped, molded, nurtured, that they become an absolute part of you. They become a fabric of your soul, so to speak, that when you kind of arrive in this lifetime and you sit at that piano and you play like you've played forever, or maybe you just have. Maybe you just have. Okay? You know, the most incredible leader that can captivate an audience and talk to them as if they're talking to that one person. You know, there are world leaders that are like that. Sadly, there needs to be more of that, not just what we're left with right now and today. But you know, as that person's always been a leader, and as they're born into this life, it's kind of activated. It's in them. You know, I see those traits in people, and you know that there is a depth in there. It's something that is so ingrained and a part of them. You know, is a dear friend that I kind of wrote to recently, and it was if I saw what felt to be her guide, but in a way it was an absolute mirror reflection of her, who she is and who she's to become. You know, so all we want to do here is stir up thoughts, stir up questions. That's what all of this is about. This is what our Shane's about. Really what you're doing is asking your name. I'm just the bridge in between. You know, I kind of also believe if you kind of see that your guides are a separate energy, an individual energy, is that they have absolute similar traits to you, you know, and that would be a sense of resonance. You know, like attracts like is around like can teach, mentor, guide like, you know, or is it that it absolutely is a reflection of all of your experiences over many lifetimes, and it is that reflection coming through you, talking to you as a separate entity, so that you kind of take it on, you know. It's that whole thing, you ask a question, you feel you're asking your spirit guide, the answer comes, and somehow you listen to that, you know. But are you really talking to your deeper, higher self, you know? Love to hear your thoughts on this, you know. Love to hear your thoughts on this. You know, it's like today, I consulted for a young man, and he was a young man. He was in his probably mid to late 20s, but yeah, he had a timeless, ageless wisdom to who he was, and he was a very, very powerful healer, no question about that. But when he looked at you, it was like he looked into you, and that feeling of being incredibly present. And he had a very short beard, and as I looked at him, I got this impression of what felt to be a guide. Long robe, heavy robe, the hood come out, and I could see just his eyes and his face. There was a chin there, where it was just short, shaven, neat, tidy kind of like beard, and he was carrying a very heavy wooden staff. He gave me the sense of a very nomadic life here in these lands again, but up towards the Scottish Isles, and there was a sense of Gnostics, very, very, very early religion, but there was such a spiritual kind of aspect to the Gnostic traditions, and I was very aware of looking out towards the stars, and a real kind of connection between religion, stars, universe, philosophy, but it was this sense of this energy that was around him, in fact, was his past self, and in a way as if he was growing into this as his future self. I think there's a lot to explore here, but you know, it's about kind of and as you know, as Spirit, the Innates just said, it's about forging a relationship with these energies, but in fact what you're doing is you're forging a relationship with your deeper self. um, and in doing so you're accessing, I often say to people, especially those, and this is very few in number, it's not the majority, it's the minority that I get to kind of mentor, to kind of work in a similar way to myself. I often say to them, it's not about teaching, it's about remembering. So it's about remembering this information. It's about remembering this wisdom. It's not about learning it. It's about you accessing it and remembering it, because it's already there within you. It's already there inside of you. So hopefully that is giving you some things to kind of chew over, to kind of explore, to kind of really begin to just contemplate and reflect. Love to hear your thoughts, as always. Really love to hear your thoughts. If you do have questions, feel free to comment below. Those of you that are watching this on our YouTube channel, you can find our daily content over on our Facebook page, Spirit Meets Adventure. And those of you that are watching this via Facebook, you can find a whole wealth of resources and a library of videos on our YouTube channel if you search Shane Gadd. And those of you that are interested in following our venturing aspect of what we do is Instagram, shane.gadd. Speak soon, guys. Keep the questions going, and I am going to follow this video up with another video over the coming weeks. So just who are our spirit guides?